Hamas is a Palestinian political and military organization that emerged during the First Intifada in 1987, originally as part of Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood. Initially focused on charitable work, it quickly evolved into a significant political force, challenging the Palestinian Liberation Organization (PLO). In the late 1990s and early 2000s, Hamas carried out suicide bombings and attacks on Israel. In 2006, Hamas won a majority in the Palestinian elections, defeating Fatah. This led to violent clashes, and by 2007, Hamas had taken control of Gaza, while Fatah remained in the West Bank, resulting in an Israeli and Egyptian blockade of Gaza. After gaining control, Hamas began launching rockets at Israel. A brief ceasefire in 2008 broke down, leading to multiple wars, notably in 2012 and 2014, with significant casualties. Despite efforts to reconcile with Fatah, Hamas has remained internationally isolated and continued its attacks. In October 2023, Hamas launched a major attack on Israel, escalating the ongoing conflict. Most of Hamas's leaders have ties to areas now part of Israel, particularly villages near Ashkelon. After Israel's capture of Gaza in 1967, it allowed Islamic groups to operate more freely to counter secular factions like Fatah. Sheikh Ahmed Yassin, a key figure, founded an organization that established mosques and schools with Israeli approval. While Israeli officials recognized the growing influence of Islamic movements, their warnings were largely ignored. Israel did not directly fund Hamas but allowed its early development. The founding of Hamas. Hamas was founded in the late 1970s as a religious alternative to the secular Fatah Party. Its name first appeared in 1987 during the First Intifada, a Palestinian uprising against Israeli control in the West Bank and Gaza, receiving support from charities linked to Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood. During the Intifada, Hamas initially focused on nonviolent protests, but violence escalated after Israeli forces detained many activists. In 1989, Hamas conducted its first attack, kidnapping and killing 2 Israeli soldiers, leading to arrests and deportations of its leaders. By the 1990s, Hamas had established its military wing, the Izz ad-Din al-Qassam brigades, and began carrying out suicide bombings, particularly after a 1994 mosque massacre by an Israeli settler. This tactic gained notoriety, especially under leader Yahya Ayyash, who was killed by Israeli forces in 1996. The Second Intifada, beginning in 2000, saw increased violence, with Hamas targeting both military and civilian locations. In 2006, Hamas won a majority in the Palestinian elections, leading to international isolation and halted funding from the US and EU, as the group refused to renounce violence or recognize Israel. This victory marked a turning point in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, with economic consequences for Palestinians and heightened tensions between Hamas and Fatah. Hamas's statements after the election. Following the 2006 elections, Hamas softened its stance by removing its call for Israel's destruction, instead advocating for an independent state with Jerusalem as its capital. Hamas leader Khaled Mashal initially stated that no changes were expected, but soon indicated a potential halt to armed conflict if Israel recognized the 1967 borders and withdrew from occupied territories. Despite polls showing significant Palestinian support for peace with Israel, Mashal dismissed the roadmap for peace. In April 2006, a senior Hamas member hinted at possible recognition of Israel, suggesting a potential shift in their approach. After forming a new government on March 20, 2006, tensions escalated between Hamas and Fatah, especially after clashes that resulted in multiple deaths. The political landscape became increasingly volatile as economic hardships led to protests in Gaza and the West Bank. In June 2006, an Israeli military operation resulted in civilian casualties in Gaza, prompting Hamas to resume rocket attacks against Israel. Following the capture of Israeli soldier Gilad Shalit, Israel launched Operation Summer Rains, targeting Hamas infrastructure. By April 2007, Hamas declared an end to the ceasefire, citing ongoing Israeli military actions. Tensions culminated in conflicts between Hamas and Fatah, leading to a brief unity government that collapsed in June when Hamas took control of Gaza. Gaza War and Aftermath. In December 2008, Tensions escalated into the Gaza war after the end of a ceasefire, resulting in significant casualties on both sides. After the war, Hamas leader Khalid Mashal expressed a willingness to engage with the Obama administration, but later comments indicated a lack of interest in diplomacy. Hamas has faced allegations of supporting insurgent activities in Sinai and has been accused of kidnapping Israeli teenagers in 2014, leading to severe repercussions. In 2017, Hamas released a revised charter and condemned U.S. recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital. In July 2024, Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh was killed, and Yahya Sinwar was elected to replace him. Throughout its history, Israel has faced accusations of indirectly supporting Hamas to prevent the establishment of a Palestinian state.